Welcome to the Soul Tribe Podcast. The Soul Tribe Podcast was created to help you navigate through the world of spirituality, wellness, and self-development in an easy, grounded, and relatable way. We break down everything from the Akashic Records, manifesting, spirituality, and so much more. We want to help expand your boundaries and bring the spiritual world to you in a fun and easy way. Get ready to be inspired with tips, tools, and easy to digest information. Let's do this.
Hey Soul Tribe, welcome back to another episode. Today we're going to talk about time, and we thought it was really cool to talk about this after the episode we did with Christos, where Christos spent a lot of time talking about how time for aliens is different, and how they time travel possibly to come visit us, and all his theories about time. We thought it was really interesting because we always hear about time in the Akashic Records, and how it's not really the way we feel it. It's not the same way for them from their dimension or where they are. So that's what we're going to see, what the Akashic Records can tell us today, and hopefully it helps you guys understand more the concept of time, because even Lorraine and I are a little confused about it.
Yeah, we're both connected to our Akashic Records, so we're hoping that we also get some helpful information, because I've never actually asked this myself, opening my own Akashic Record, so I think it's kind of a good way for us to also learn. And we're learning with you guys too. Like we always say that, right? It's not, we don't know everything. We're trying to figure stuff out as well as we go, and we connect more and more. So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so the first thing I want to say, obviously, like you said, the Akashic Records open. The first thing I want to say is that Lorraine and I, at one point, were talking about, this was in the Patreon, one of the Patreon episodes. The information came out that our idea, or we questioned ourselves and said to ourselves, is time part of a program that is given to us on Earth that's like a controlled aspect? And we kind of asked ourselves that, and it was left at that because we were going to do an episode about time. And so the first thing that the Akashic Records tell me is, no, actually, that's not the only point of time. So time brings, they're telling me that time brings an equilibrium into our reality, a much needed equilibrium. If not, everything would be much more chaotic and more uncontrollable. So actually, time, at least for the soul, is something that they accept as part of the plan, because they can organize themselves more. It helps them with like the soul contract, but it also helps them with managing the reality in itself. And then what they're also saying to me is it's not part of this program where we have to live under it. It's just a not so real way of figuring out how Earth energy moves. That's what they're telling me. So I'm saying not so real because I think at one point, Lorena, you said something one day like our clocks aren't totally right.
Yeah, like time is moving way faster than the clock, right? Like we feel it, we know it. It's science has said it. So we're basically, we work on a 24-hour clock, right? So we know that there's 7 days a week, there's 24 hours in a day, and there's a specific amount of days in a month. And I don't know a lot about the calendar itself, because I know there's I've heard a lot and I've read a lot about the Mayan culture and how they kind of, the solstices and all of that. So I know that could be something we research and we talk about. But I think from what I've heard and I've read in different articles, scientists are saying time is moving faster, and things are not going at the same pace as they were 200 years ago. So is our clock really valid anymore? Is that time, the sun does still come up and come down, but time is going faster. We perceive it to go faster.
No, now that you said that, they're explaining it a little bit more to me. So now I get what they were talking about. They were saying not so real, and energy. They talked about energy. Now I get it. Now they're showing to me. Now they're saying that. What happens is there's a specific way that energy circulates through our reality, or if you want to call it our matrix, right? Some people like to call it matrix. There's a certain way that energy moves through that, and so it loops through. They call it loops because for them this is kind of like a program in a way. So it loops through. But like you were just saying, time seems to be going faster, and they're showing me that energy's moving quicker. So it's circulating. It's doing a full I don't know what the circulation is. I can't tell you what the circulation is, but they're showing me how the movement of the energy going one complete circle before took an X amount of time, and now it's taking up one, like, I think it's 1/4 of that time is chunked off. So it's going 3/4 faster, like 3/4 and 3/4 is a whole, right? And so we're actually being cheated out of having to rapidly do things more quicker in our matrix now. We need to get things done quicker. Our time is not sufficient enough because now, like they were saying, not so real structure of time.
I mean, how many of us can say that? All of us, I'm sure everyone listening to this podcast at some point, I don't have enough hours in the day. We all say that. Time is going by so quick. We're all so busy.
I hope it changes because I'm a little done with it, to be honest with you.
It is hard. Like, I feel like I'll have a list of stuff to do in the morning and I'm like, oh my God, it's already 4:00. What the heck? What happened?
Yeah, it's crazy. Before maybe you did like 5 things and now you did like 2 and
at moments I'm like, maybe it was because I was like, I'm getting older. And like, as you get older, you just get more tired. I don't think so though. Because I feel like I could do things quicker. No. There's things I've been doing for so long. Like,
it's definitely not that. Sorry, there's a dog. The neighbor's dog is barking if you guys hear it.
Yeah, I can hear it.
And I can't control that dog. That dog starts barking at 5, 6 in the morning. Like,
Jesus.
It's ridiculous. And the dog's on this side of the garden that's next to the window where I sleep here in Uruguay. So it's like, go pick another window, man.
Close the window.
No, because it's hot. It's like it's been getting to like 28, 33 degrees. So yeah, no, I'm not close to the window.
And that's Celsius, just dog. In case. That's not.
Yeah, sorry, that's Celsius.
Fahrenheit.
Yeah. Okay, so back to the so it's not you. It's not because you're getting old. Because they're showing me that energy moving faster. So we should actually be adapting our clocks and saying no longer work in 24 hours. The day now works in 19 hours. I have no idea why they're saying 19, by the way.
That seems right. It feels that way.
We have 19 hours now.
If I were to say, like, does it feel like 24 hours? I'd say, heck no. It does not. It hasn't felt like that for a long time.
So it's like 5 hours less, right? 19 to 24?
Yeah, that seems about right.
If my math is on?
Yeah, that's pretty good, and I'm really bad at math, so.
So that means 19 hours, and then we're spending, hopefully, luckily, you get 8 hours of sleep. Dude, that's 11 hours left.
Yeah, that's not a lot.
My math is on today.
You're awake.
Yeah. That leaves you 11 hours. 8 of those is work. You got 3 left. Ooh, you got 3 left. 3.
Yeah, and you exercise, you eat.
No, but I'm saying 3 because that's Akashic Records' favorite number.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you have 3 left to actually have a life.
Yeah. That's
you
nothing.
used to use it to commute before quarantine, by the way.
So things like you're saying, which I like because that's what's coming through for me as well, it's we need to adapt our reality to that perception of the time. That is actually reality. I say it, I perceive it, I feel it, I'm like, I feel like it's 19 hours and not 24. We need to adapt to that because that's a reality. But not only that, like that means everything has to change. That's why it's not changing. Because then we have to work less hours. And why would our employers want us to work 6 or 5 hours instead of 8? Or why would I want to sleep for 8 hours if I know that I have only 3 hours left after going to work for 8 hours? You'd sleep less.
Now I understand why I've been feeling for the last 2 years that I don't have a life. With like having a child, like I think a lot of mothers that listen to us will feel the same way. Like, okay, my child's gonna go to sleep, and I should go to sleep as well because I'm only gonna get these hours of sleep. But I also want to have a little bit of my life while my child's sleeping. And then, like, if I do that, the next day I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, that's the time in our quote unquote reality. But let's get into time within the Akashic Records because I think that's interesting and it's something that we brought up on different episodes and we've talked about how, the Akashic Records isn't really a predictive tool. It won't necessarily tell you what's going to happen, but numbers and time do come up in certain instances. That's one part of it. But another part of it that I wanted to talk about is why, for example, when we connect to the Akashic Records and we do, let's say each of us do a reading for somebody for an hour, why does the time go so quickly? And that is attributed partly to the fact that we're connecting to the fifth dimension, and that time runs very differently in the fifth dimension as opposed to the third dimension where we're at right now. And we're going to do a whole episode about dimensions and get really into that. But what's your take on that, Lou?
I was getting something when you were talking about the first question, which was the time in the Akashic Records, like what it is, what it's like for them. There's only now. That's literally what the Akashic Records say. We only have the now. We don't have a point of reference to say back then or over there, when the future over there. They're saying that we only have a now. My human brain can't understand more than that. I literally cannot understand more than that. I don't know how the masters are showing to me, pointing like what would be the past for me, saying that that's now, but over here's now, and over there, and then he's pointing to like what looks like the future, the master, and over there's now as well. So my human brain, I don't understand that. I can't explain something that my brain doesn't. And all Akashic Records students will know that we teach this. Like, you can only receive information and pass it on as a channel if your brain already understands it. So I can't capture what he's pointing back there, and he's pointing in the future, and he's pointing it now, and they're all now. So I don't get it. My human brain can't figure it out.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one part of it. They're always in the now. They're always in the now.
Yeah, and that makes total sense, because when they speak about, or when they channel anything, it's about what you're experiencing now. They will make reference to a past life, but they won't, it doesn't, and that's a good point you're saying, because now that you say that, it makes me realize how it comes through and how I feel it. It never feels like it like I'll say, oh, this is from a past life, but it doesn't feel that way sometimes.
Yeah.
It feels all linear.
So energetically right now. Yeah.
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 Like they don't separate it. Like it's there. It's just energy, if that makes sense. Like it's just present. It's something that's happened, but they don't look at time as we do. Does that make sense? I don't know what I'm even saying.
I'm sorry. Lorena can see me because
we're both like, what?
And I'm making a weird face. I'm making a weird face because while you were talking about that, they were trying to show it to me. So you're talking about how we channel, because that's how our human brain understands it, because we're channeling for somebody. Hey, the past life that your soul had here, over there, right, blah, blah, blah. So they're showing me how it is actually all now. Again, my human brain can't understand it, but I made a face when one of the masters tried to show me when one of those bodies passes away. So let's say you have a supposed past life, and that past life, something physically happened to the body in that past life, and you're in this body, your consciousness is in this body right now. Which you can have a day where you're feeling really tired or really sick, or you feel like, I feel really depressed right now, or I feel really disconnected, or something's off and I don't know what it is. They're saying that sometimes we're actually connecting to the passing over of another lifetime.
Wow.
Isn't that weird?
That's weird.
And we also they're telling me we also experience rebirths, aka there are births happening as well, that we're experiencing them as rebirths. I don't get it, guys. Like I want to be able to explain this better to you guys, but I don't get it. Since I'm very visual, I'm able to see it, but I'm not able to humanly comprehend it.
I'm feeling like we need to explain the fifth dimension and why time in the fifth dimension. Like, if any of you are connecting to the Akashic Records or have had a reading done by somebody else, you will realize how fast time runs or passes by when you're getting a reading. It's insane. It's literally feels like it's 10 minutes. And that doesn't mean there's not enough time to answer questions, because there's more than enough time to answer the questions. Yeah, there's always more than enough time. It just feels so quick. But then when you listen back to your recording, like let's say that, you'll realize, oh, wow, this feels way longer. But when you were in the reading, even for us as readers, it feels
it goes super
so quick. It's like, oh, it's over already? Oh my gosh, yeah. And you're looking at the time like, oh my God, we're like past time.
Yeah. I usually pop open the Akashic Records, the intro message comes in for the person, and then they start asking questions, and then when I look to see what time it is, I'm like, oh, we're already 40 minutes into the reading. And I'm just, oh, okay, right. At this point, I'm used to it.
For me, part of it is like you get into a flow, because when you're connected to the fifth dimension, time does run differently. When you're receiving messages, so much energy comes through that it comes quicker than you can sometimes communicate it. But at the same time, they're saying to me that perception of time while someone's in a reading, be it the reader or the client, it feels like it's from the fifth dimension. That's what's feeding that energy and that perception. Because it's not just as a reader that you're connected. The person's also receiving that fifth dimensional energy.
So what I think what really is really happening, and I'm going to explain it, what you said, but it just in other words, because that's how I'm getting it. And I think for those that didn't understand the way you said it, I think they might understand the way I'm getting it, which is,
I don't even understand how I get it.
what's really happening is, like you said, we're tapping into that fifth dimension during the reading with a person. Both of us are going into the law of the fifth dimension. Every dimension has its own set of laws. I'm calling it laws. It's not like maybe
like terms.
The dogs are barking so much. Yeah, it's like you're physically or spiritually going to experience something. It's the law of that dimension, right? If that makes sense. And so let's say I'm opening up, Lorena, your Akashic Records, I'm now, my reality is now walking into the laws of the fifth dimension, as well as you, because we're connecting to your Akashic Records, right? And so now we're both running on fifth dimensional time, which is always now. And so you ask me one question, you're actually asking me all the questions at the same time. I'm responding all the things, and it's going like this, and then the time's up. Everything was done. Everything was answered, but we went under the law of the fifth dimension, which is everything's now. And now is quicker than our Matrix 19-hour reality.
That makes total sense. I think you explained it really well. I also think that when we're connected, we're like I said, we're flowing. It feels different. It's like you're in a different energy field. That's how I perceive it, at least. And that time flows differently. So it's like you go through it. Like they're giving me this image of like when you like swim through water, how it's slower than you walking, like that.
Yeah.
Like it's a different energy around you.
That makes sense. That kind of goes with the everything's now, because you're slowing down. It's like,
yeah. Yeah, and like you said, it's not that because time feels like it's going quicker that you don't have enough time. They're saying time is exactly as it needs to be when you're in the fifth dimension. There's no... It flows the way it needs to flow, but it can't flow as it does in the third dimension when we connect to the fifth dimension, because we wouldn't be able to receive the messages. We wouldn't be able to connect in the same way. The messages wouldn't come through as clear.
It's funny because they're showing me how different it is to assist us as masters on the other side. And they're showing me how for them, it's like my lifetime started, they assisted me, they snapped their fingers, and it feels like it's done. Whereas for us, it could be 80, 90 years. For them, it just...
Yeah.
It's
like a blink of an eye. Yeah, it's like a blink of an eye, and then it's like... Yeah. That's part of our reality.
Yeah, and then I think about that, and like you hear the stories of like, I mean, we did a whole episode about spirit and soul, right? And then at some point, if you guys didn't get that episode, go back to it, you can hear it, is we do a whole episode about like what's a spirit or what's the soul and things like that. And so at some point, if I remember correctly, they talked about, your spirit or your soul can get stuck here, right? And if you don't fully pass over, right? And now I understand how a soul can get stuck here. And for the soul, it's like, it was here for 5 minutes maybe, but actually it was here for like 200 years, and it just missed a 200-year timeline where it could have incarnated or something.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing you're saying right there, because that makes so much sense. How you'll hear stories of people that like communicate with spirit, and they'll be like, oh no, I'm just waiting for somebody here. Like they have no perception of time. Like they think it would happen 2 minutes ago.
Yeah. So then they're under the fifth dimensional law, apparently.
That's interesting.
No. Yes and no. They seem to be on. So what they're showing, the masters are showing to me that they're not fully in the fifth dimension. If not, they would have been able to pass over. They're on the limiting border of. So they're actually experiencing some sort of loop of time. They're telling me, but they're experiencing the boundaries of the limit of the passing over to the fifth dimension. So they're experiencing both earthly time, but with an accelerated version of it. Much accelerated. Like, if we were talking about just now, our time now is 19 hours a day. For that soul stuck and not being able to move on, it's like a day is 2 or 3 hours.
Oh, wow.
Or something.
Yeah.
Like, they're experiencing...
That makes total sense.
It's like they're on the limiting... It's like being in two states at the same time. You just go to the border, and somehow you're in both states or something. I don't know. Like, that's how I feel like it is.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, oh, look,
yeah.
you stand at the border of Canada and the U.S. Or, I don't know if you can, but if you can, you're like, oh, my right leg's in Canada, and my left leg's in the U.S. And my right leg has to obey the laws of Canada, and my left leg has to obey the laws of the U.S. Like,
yeah.
You're kind of limiting the borders of both reality and both laws that fall under both dimensions, I guess you can say. Us being third dimension and Akashic Records being the fifth dimension, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
God, everything's so complex.
Time for me is something that, oh my gosh, like even when we did that episode with Christos, when he was talking about time and portals, and I mean, I'd love to get someone on here that could talk about time specifically, like that is like an expert on time or something. So if anybody knows anybody.
Yeah, if anybody knows
that'd
anybody.
Be interesting.
But don't even get me started on the time thing, because like I've been super, I need an intervention. Guys, I need an intervention. I'm addicted to cosmic disclosure on Gaia, and I need external help. It's like, I'm waiting for Aurora to go to sleep so I can watch my next episode. But anyways, they have a lot of episodes where there's like supposed whistleblowers, more than one, whistleblowers talking about how the military's already traveling in time. There's already time portals.
I know that sounds crazy. I
totally believe it. And sometimes I watch it to my Akashic Records open, and these guys are saying stuff that you're like, what? And the Akashic Records never tell me no. Like, that's why I'm obsessed with the show, because I keep not getting no's from them. I'm like, it's freaking true. It sounds really ridiculous. I've never experienced that. No one I know has experienced that, but it seems to be true.
I mean, even Crystal's got that confirmation from, the aliens or whatever. I don't like saying aliens. It's like, I don't know. I don't like that name. But from those beings,
our DNA and their DNA have matches, supposedly.
But they communicate, or they travel, through portals. So there are portals. There's the amount of stories of people that just disappear and they lose track of time, and then people find them, like they go missing, and then all of a sudden a week later they appear somewhere else.
The Bermuda Triangle.
Don't even go that far. Like just in the United States, in the forests and stuff. Like I've heard so many stories, and I watch this guy on YouTube that like Joe's obsessed with. I think it's Mr. Ballin or something. I'll try to link it below. But he has a bunch of like scary stories or unsolved mysteries, and he's really good at storytelling. And they're all real life things. He doesn't make them up. And it's like people that have gone missing, or a spirit's helped them, or they've been gone for like a week and they show up in another part of the forest. There's no way that you could have appeared. How did people,
wasn't there
like
a guy
investigators
supposedly in Canada who ended up in the UK somehow? He's like, what?
I don't know, but I'm sure there's tons, and I'm sure a lot of it is like not even talked about.
I don't know. This was like either the 70s, the 80s, or the 90s. No, the 70s or the 80s, I think. There was a guy who was supposedly walking, I don't know, he was like in nature somewhere in Canada, I think it was. Don't quote me on this, I think. And I'm pretty sure that they said that he ended up, all of a sudden he was like, wait, I'm in the UK?
Weird.
Well, that makes me want to travel with my
could
passport
happen.
everywhere in case I mistakenly walk into a portal. I can fly myself back. Like, let me carry
Like,
around
what
my
do you do in
passport.
that case?
I don't know. Report that
You're screwed.
you report you go to your local embassy and you report that you lost your passport. I don't know.
Yeah. Weird. That is so weird. But I do believe in all that. So, I don't know. I don't know if there's anything else you want to add, Lou, about time that's come through for you.
No, and all I can add is that I really hope that one day our I guess it would be our governments and our scientists decide to both get together and look into this, how time is actually functioning in our matrix now, so that they can properly adapt it, so that we can actually have a more, like, our life can be a little bit more relaxed, chillaxed, right? Because I feel like right now everyone's kind of, we're running around trying to get things done that we would get done in 24 hours. We're trying, the Akashic Records say it's more like 19 right now. I wish that they would actually study that and then get together with the governments, and then worldwide we all adapt it to what it really is. If we're going to live in a structured form, let's do it in a fair way.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that.
But here's wishing. I don't know.
Yeah, here's wishing. Who knows? I think 2021 there will be a lot of things coming forward I don't know if changes necessarily. Some will be changes, but like we said, a lot of truths, a lot of shifts, a lot of realities, it's going to be an interesting year, I think. I'm
going to be a very interesting
excited
year.
And a little anxious about it, but I think
it's
going to be very
another
different.
limiting year, but it's going to be a limiting year with a lot of, if you're on this road that, like, looking into this stuff and being open-minded, you can be one of the two people. You can be the person that sits down and watches the news, and so life will just feel limiting, I think, in that case. Or you can be that person that looks beyond that, like we're doing here with the podcast, and maybe if you have Gaia, or you listen to that storyteller guy, or you look into things that are more expanded. I think that this would be an interesting year for those us kind of people, because we'll be limited, but we're going to be able to really start grasping truths. Yeah. Slowly, things are going to start leaking out, and I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I'm excited about it too. Before we go, I want to just give you guys a little bit of an update on, we took 2 weeks off, which is our only time we've taken off for this podcast. So that was really interesting. And we're obviously started season 3 with the previous episode that you probably heard. And we also want to hear from you guys, because I think it's really important to get feedback from our listeners. So feel free to reach out to us. Tell us any topics or things that you're questioning or want to know about, or want us to connect with our Akashic Records and channel. We're very open about that. And even in our Patreon, we get suggestions from our Patreon members, and we're going to actually do specific videos on that. So we want to do the same on the podcast and get your feedback. And as well, we want this year to be really a year of growth, a year of connecting further, a year of taking it a step further in every way, and giving back to you guys as much as we can. So if you guys can give us feedback, that would be great. And make sure to also, if you guys are liking this podcast, it really helps if you can go on to iTunes and rate this podcast, because it's going to get us up in the rankings, and it's going to get us to more ears, and it's going to get us more listens. And I think it's important that our messages are all heard. And yeah, I feel like we're so connected to all of you, but at the same time, we want to be giving back. So we need your feedback to do that. And as always, we're all on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we have our Patreon, so feel free to go and join us there. And we'll be coming at you with lots of new topics, and maybe even some things a little bit outside of the Akashic Records, but we'll keep you posted on that and let you know. So make sure you're following us and subscribe to the podcast so that you don't miss any episodes. We love you guys. Thanks again for all your support, and we're wishing you a really good week.
Bye, guys. Thank you.